Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. The Texas Major begins tomorrow at Major 3, and TJHaLy of the Vegas Legion does not seem particularly confident their team is going to make a serious run at this tournament, complaining about the format of the tournament last night, and many pro players saying, look, this isn't the attitude if you guys want to do well and potentially maintain your spot going into Major 4. Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. First of all, wanted to mention this from 100 Thieves. Last night they put this video out of the Los Angeles Thieves guys finally getting their World Championship rings from last season's World Championship victory. Now, I'm not exactly sure how this works, right, because I'm pretty sure the league will make, I guess the league designed and made these, because looking at them, you can see, like, take what's not given on the back and stuff, which is kind of what the league was using as their slogan type thing. So I imagine the league had these designs, but I don't believe the league will make, like, 10 of them. I think they might make 5 of them for the team that wins. So, you know, 1 each for the players, and then maybe 1 for the coach as well. But Nature managed to drop his one here, which is kind of incredible. But I think what Thieves probably do is they say, I think other organizations have done this in the past, and just say, hey, like, we want to make some more for, you know, Nature, for like Mudog, the general manager, analyst, stuff like this. I believe even Pentagram, their substitute, he got one as well. I think that's in the mail to him and stuff like that. So I guess Thieves said, hey, we'll pay more, just make us more of them type thing. And these are honestly really good looking, I think. Some would say they're a bit too blingy, but I think they clear some of the ones that were made several years ago. I mean, look how well done this is. You got the Thieves logo on the front here, which is kind of like atypical, let's say, in COD history with the World Championship rings. Call of Duty League on the side. There's also this angle where each one is personalized by the player. So it says Drazah on the side of this one, Los Angeles Thieves, and this is just another angle here, and you know, this is what it looked like in the box. So honestly, really cool stuff from Thieves and the league. And this, of course, is JCat, right? Because he now got his 3rd ring, 2 as a player and 1 now as a coach of the team. And just to look back on what they looked like throughout COD history, right? So I think maybe I'll got the one on the big screen here. So there's many good rings that are made. I actually think the Black Ops 2 one, even back to the first one they did, was pretty good. The Advanced Warfare one is also very nice. So if you guys don't know, JCat won the World Championship on Denial in Advanced Warfare, and then the next year on Black Ops 3. The Black Ops 3 one, I feel like they didn't really bother with, right? Like, this used to be what they had for the CWL logo back in the day, Call of Duty World League Champion, and you know, not particularly well done. I guess the orange strip around the outside for Black Ops 3 is kind of nice, but yeah, I don't know. It seems like this come a long way in some sense, and this is, of course, is the new one with the actual logo of the team on it rather than the logo of the game or the league as it used to be back then. So pretty cool stuff, and even as Doug says, you know, of course, he wants to get his ring at some point or another, and TDR's like, how much longer until you're collecting your ring? We've got a lot of time left, he says. I'm playing until I'm 50. So, you know, Doug, I mean, what is Doug? 27, 28, so he's got another 22 years left of competition. I mean, yeah, good luck with that one, I suppose. One to keep up with for sure. Speaking of Doug, though, last year sometime, I think it was like about the start of last season, Doug mentioned there was a tournament going on in Saudi Arabia that Doug was potentially going to go to, and that the Saudis were going to pay for the teams to fly out and all this stuff to be part of some sort of esports competition over there. Now, I think all it needed for that to go ahead was for Activision to give it the go ahead and say, yeah, you guys can use our game for this and all this type of stuff. Now, Activision like money, of course, but we'll see what the relationship there could be, if anything at all. And there's just been a $45 million esports festival announced here. I believe there's some League of Legends stuff going on here, like the ESL group that are now owned by some Saudi Arabian funds. They're obviously getting involved in this. So, you know, I just wonder how this goes, right? Because, you know, obviously it's a pretty controversial subject within esports. And even when Doug said that he wanted to go to this tourney, that caused some controversy about that in the first place. But, you know, these amateur players don't get too many opportunities to actually play for a serious amount of money. So if the opportunity was there, then, you know, you can't really blame them taking up the chance. Whether Activision would or have or potentially will in the future give a go-ahead to something like this, I guess we'll see. But, you know, it's definitely an interesting prospect if, because, you know, these guys who want to run these tournaments, I imagine they do want to bring Call of Duty into the fray, and they did last year. You'd imagine they still do, but whether Activision would agree to that or whether they should, of course, is another question entirely. Also, a thing on Cap still, because a few days ago we saw that Cap in the game was not appearing as his actual, well, his picture wasn't here, right? It was just the Vladimir Engineer's character guy, and they've actually fixed this now, as Lawrence Metten says. Took a minute to get an updated headshot, but the top 250 pick is ready to go. So good stuff, and you know, again, Treyarch absolutely carrying the scene on their back. Also, this I thought was not exactly out of pocket from FormaL, but I thought it was certainly an interesting thing to happen, because this was 10 my time yesterday. So we're talking like 4 in the morning in Texas, right? And Prolute says, what is there in Scotland? I guess what is there to do? I'm not exactly sure why he's asking that, but FormaL says, will you you ever be great in the replies? So as I say, 4 a.m. Texas time, because Prolute was on OpTic briefly last year. He joined instead of iLLeY when he had the thumb injuries. Prolute did a respectable job in the team at the time, and as a result, I think many thought, okay, Prolute's probably going to get a spot back in the league somewhere, as he did on Vegas Legion, but they since dropped Prolute for 2 real. The team has maybe got marginally better since they got rid of Prolute. You can argue it one way or another, and Prolute, of course, gone back to being aMLute, I suppose, in the Challenger side, and will try and make that spot back again. He did win a recent Challengers Cup, I believe, so, you know, he'll probably get a spot back at some point. We've seen it even by players like 2 real over the last couple of years who go out of the league, that, you know, the type of player that's really on the cusp of the league, and 1 year will be in, 1 year will be out. But FormaL's like, look, will you ever be great? And maybe FormaL sees more in Prolute than many others do, and he thinks that Prolute's really got some great potential, and FormaL's like, look, you've just got to dial it in to focus up on this, and I think even Prolute responded and said, yeah, I'm going to be great, like it's only a matter of time, and even as FormaL says, I'm sick of not seeing him at his potential. So quite the challenge and the gauntlet that FormaL throws down here to Prolute to say, hey, focus up and, you know, be better than you currently are, and maybe this is going to turn Prolute into an absolute demon. I mean, it certainly would if FormaL was in my replies and I was a pro player saying, like, you've got way more potential than you're showing. Like, I'd be on my Grizzy after that one for sure. So we'll see if that works out. And Prolute actually says announcement coming soon, whether this is team, whether this is sponsor or whatever. I guess we'll see. But for now, Prolute probably not back on a league team as yet. One player that is on a league team, though, on the team that Prolute was dropped from is, of course, TJHaLy. And as he says last night on Twitter, I thought this is going to get deleted actually, because there was a lot of backlash to this really from even some of his teammates, but also other pro players. Another flight for a one-and-done tournament. Now, I think fundamentally what he's saying is here, he doesn't like the format of these tournaments, which I think is fair enough. The idea that there's 4 teams starting in the losers bracket is obviously not ideal, and you know, in an ideal world we have 16 teams and we can go a 16 team double in bracket, all starting from winners, and it's absolutely fantastic, what we used to have at champs back in the day pre-CDL. The reality is 12 teams, and we're not getting another 4 anytime soon, given the state of things, given Los Angeles Guerrillas want to sell theirs, and who knows what else is going to happen in this league over the next couple of years. It's a necessary reality of the situation we find ourselves in, and unfortunately for Vegas and also for OpTic to some respect, I think they had probably the hardest schedules of any teams this stage, and the schedules are randomized, and this is the frustrating thing. Back in the Cold War days, we used to choose the schedules, or we didn't choose them, but the teams chose them, right? So the teams would go through one by one and select which team they wanted to put in the opposing group. So the group play stuff that they did before the majors was actually, you know, there wasn't a strength of schedule disparity to such an extent. Like, the groups were not always entirely balanced, but there was at least some balance in the groups. Whereas now, FaZe can theoretically play the bottom 5 teams in the league, whereas Vegas can theoretically play the top 5 teams in the league, and, you know, you start in losers as a result. That I don't think is particularly fair. But at the same time, if you can't win 3 of your 5 online matches, do you really deserve to start in winners? You know, you could argue not. At least you still get to go to the tourney, because, you know, previously that hasn't always necessarily been the case, and I don't believe was their plan initially. So TJ says, even as Ake says, right, you play LAG or Surge, regain, right? So could be a winnable match either way. I didn't lose full, it's just annoying. Yes, I know it's my fault, he says. So I'm kind of responding to what a lot of people said as criticism to this tweet from TJ. And of course, you'll find Vegas in the losers bracket down here. They play in the first round the loser of Surge or Guerrillas. Probably Guerrillas. They should have beaten Guerrillas, you could argue, online, and they would have secured winners as a result. They didn't, and therefore they're going to play maybe Guerrillas in the losers brackets here. And if they win that, they'll play either Rokkr, FaZe, or Thieves. So Legion probably maximum top 8 this tournament, but they do need to go further than that, because they're currently 40 points, I believe, behind the Minnesota Rokkr, and they're trying to probably take the 8th spot for the World Championship off the Minnesota Rokkr. Rokkr might get here top 12. That means 0 points for the entire stage. If Legion can get a couple of wins this tourney, they can start to close that gap, but it's going to be a difficult one to achieve as it currently stands, certainly starting in losers. So as Prid says, regain Terry. So he's like, because effectively the other way of looking at TJ's tweet is not just complaining at the tourney, but basically saying, like, this tourney is over so quickly, right? Like, this is obviously not the tweet of a man confident in his team making a run, because, you know, if you were confident in your team making a run, then you wouldn't be annoyed about a one and done tournament, because you think, all right, we'll just win all our matches and make the run anyway. Like, if you're OpTic starting in losers, if they did lose to FaZe, for example, then I'm not sure they'd be frustrated so much about the format. It's like, well, you know, we should have won more matches than we did. We're starting in losers, but we can still make a run and still play many matches. It seems like TJ's thinking like, well, it's one and done. We might just be done after one like we usually are, and has happened before, and then be straight on the plane home again, which is obviously frustrating for the players, but it's also kind of like, just get good, you know, just get better, and then you won't have this situation. Even Tempest teammate says, guy needs to get off Twitter. I'm gonna have to get him some cookies or something. So, you know, I'm sure Temp is reading this. If I was TJ's teammate reading this, I'd be like, oh my god, this guy's already mentally checked out of the tournament before you've even begun, saying it's a one and done and it's probably going to be over on the first day and all this stuff. The reality is it might not be, but it also could be if you've got that mentality. I think it certainly doesn't help here. And even Jacob is like, you know, my brother, delete this. This is not the message you want to be sending to your teammates and to the community in general, really, when you're going into what is a massive tournament for Vegas. If they could make a run here, they can seriously put themselves in a shout of actually doing something for the World Championship, maybe. And if I was Clay, I'd be thinking, oh my god, this guy, man. Like, you know, and even Scrappy's like just laughing about this because I guess he realizes, like, imagine Toronto played Vegas, right? Like, theoretically. Scrappy's like, this guy's already checked out before the match has even begun. I'm going to absolutely smoke this guy. And the problem that TJ has in a way is that statistically he's been the worst player on that team so far. It's honestly kind of interesting in a way because Clay has a 0.98, Temp has a 0.97, like 2L has a 0.92, and TJ has a 0.86. Now in Search and Destroy, TJ is very good at 1.11. I think one of the best on this team outside of Clayster has a 1.5 in Search and Destroy this stage. But in a way, Temp the last couple of years has been at the standout player of the Legion, and therefore he's kind of been the one calling the shots. He wanted to play with TJ, TJ came in, but now Clay as the veteran, and also Clay's been putting them in the backpack, to be honest, so far this stage, to even get them the 2 wins they had. Clay is probably the one that calls the shots, right, and Temp individually hasn't been quite as strong this season as he has been in the last couple of seasons. So TJ drawing a 0.86 and a 0.7 in control is getting to the point where it's not going to cut it, right? I mean, Prolute was dropped for 2-wheel, which you can argue if that's made them better or worse, but 2-wheel I think has been quite impactful. TJ has stayed the same. Bad in respawn, good in Search and Destroy, but is that enough? That's a question that will be there, especially when, you know, Temp and TJ are boys, they get on well. So if Temp was calling the shots, TJ wouldn't get dropped. But now if Clay is calling the shots with their coaching staff, then you obviously can't rule out a change immediately after this major if TJ underperforms and it doesn't go so well for them, as it might well not if that's the attitude that TJ's bringing in. So definitely tweet your thoughts in the comment section below on that one, because I thought Scrappy's response was pretty interesting, right, in terms of mindset difference, because I don't think Scrappy would ever come in with that mindset. He would come in with the mindset of, okay, we're here, we're going to make a run regardless of the situation. Maybe some players don't necessarily follow that same logic. I thought this was kind of funny as well. So Keeks isn't going to this event, of course. I'm girlfriend of Drazah, and I know that a lot of people were commenting in replies to this like, oh, thank the Lord, Ninja Defuses are now possible again. If you guys know the reference, you guys will probably know the reference. Champs last year, if you guys are unfamiliar. And just to finish with a nice look back in COD history here, Jacob L puts together some of the most underappreciated maps in competitive COD history, which I certainly agree with number 1 here, and some people probably won't even know what number 1 is if you haven't been around so long. We'll start from the back though. This of course is Gridlock from Black Ops 4, a fantastic map. London Docks from World War II is, you know, is it better than it gets credit for? Maybe it is. I actually do think that if we brought, let's say, like COD Mobile, do they have London Docks? I don't know, but I feel like a game like COD Mobile or a best of Call of Duty, London Docks has got to be up there. It was the best map from World War II by a margin, I would say. Also, Retreats, this is from Advanced Warfare. I think a well-liked map though, but maybe slightly overshadowed by some of the other great maps in that game, like Solar and Biolab and others. But this actually might be my favorite map on this entire list of 4 that he put together. This is Retaliation from Infinite Warfare. This is, I think, one of the best maps ever for Search and Destroy, for Hardpoint especially. So many great moments on this one, and I would love to see it brought back at some point or another. I still think it could work possibly for Boots as well with a couple of alterations. But very much enjoy your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.
One's laying down at the booth, the first booth.
Top cat. I can't hit him. He's going side door.
Side door. Yeah, side door. He's coming back to mid.
This guy, is this Shotzzy, bro? Yeah, it's Shotzzy, 100%. I just got embarrassed.
I hear you on getting embarrassed. I'm challenged.
Holy, I'm in hell.
I'm a bullet.